could be ideal. Okay, guys, let's get started on this run through on the. We need to be calling them the same thing as they do in the States. They're now called the Done for Your Launch Event Training Deck, if that makes sense. I think somewhere I can turn the dings on and off, but I don't know where. I have also sent to you the top 10 presentation tips. The purpose of having them is just for you to get a general idea of what it takes to deliver a presentation that people will tend to attach themselves to, that they'll tend to listen to, so they get the maximum information out of what you're doing. Now, if you have never presented before, this seems like an awful lot of information about how to present, but these are just the basics. I'm not going to go into that now. You can read it as you go. And what I would suggest, the way I learned to present, well, first of all, the way I was dumped into it was pretty well by accident. You know, I was at a presentation. The speaker didn't show up, and next thing he goes, you know, I can't be there. Can you do it for me? So I did, and I just got up. I didn't know any of what you were seeing on that top 10 presentation tips. I just had to jump in and do it, and I made as many mistakes as I did good things. The good things I did was I connected with people, and that's one of the most important things when you present. But the top 10 presentation tips is really to take away things that can be distractions for a room, and you want to remove that. So what I suggest you do is you start with the basics. Maybe you pick one or two. Every time you do a presentation, you try to keep one of these in mind. And if there's 10 tips with 2 or 3 bullet points underneath, well, that means you would have to do 20 presentation run-throughs to get the hang of it. And that's really what presenting is all about. It's about doing lots of run-throughs, doing little corrections as you go, and discovering it without beating yourself up. Please don't do that. Remember, the people sitting in the room don't have the information you have, and your job is to get the information to them. So in your own time, go through the top 10 presentation tips as you go. I've done another training deck of slides. I've put some bullet points in front of the training deck. I will probably redistribute that just so you can look at that. But the first thing to look at, and I'm just going to do very briefly on some of the main points before we get started into the slides themselves. Let's talk about the room setup. The room setup we're going for is naturally theatre style. I suggest not using tables or any kind of barriers that is between you, the presenter, and the group in the room. You set it up theatre style. If you expect 50 people, probably set up somewhere between 30 and 40. Reason being is it looks a lot better pulling chairs into the room, you know, well, we didn't expect that many, than having half, like if you set up for 100 and 40 shows up, it looks like this is a bad idea. So you want to be adding chairs rather than either removing chairs or having empty chairs. Room temperature should be cool. A lot of people say it's really cool in here. I guarantee you one thing, by the time you get it going, it'll be really, really warm within 15 to 20 minutes. And the most important thing is that the presenter doesn't stand there and boil. There's nothing worse than standing in front of the room. And because you're working, because you're projecting, and because you're probably standing in front of a warm projector that's blowing hot air on you, or you're standing underneath a heater or a light, it gets very, very hot, and it looks bad and embarrassing if you start to sweat. It looks like as if you're nervous, when really you're just working really, really hard on projecting well. So keep the room cool, mostly for the presenter, but also to keep the people in the group awake, because when it's hot, they'll go to sleep. Screen, what do you need to have in the room? You need to have the projection screen. There's various types of that. Obviously, you need to have a projector. You either bring your own, or the venue will set it up. Some of them charge a ridiculous fortune, like $200 or $300 just to pull the cable out. So just watch for costs on that when you set it up. You need to have sound. 2 types of sound. You need to have sound for the PC. We are running 2 videos throughout this slide deck. So you want it to be able to project that sound at a reasonably good quality. Please don't use the projector speaker hanging out. There's often in the projector that might hang in a ceiling or sitting on the table. It might have a little speaker in it. It's just not enough to give good quality sound. You need to have another way of either hooking into their PA system, or you need to have a powerful speaker such as a sound dock standing up front that is hooked up to your computer. You also need to have music before and after. What I suggest is you have some upbeat, fresh music. They often say, what sort of music should you play? Well, unless it's highly offensive, you know, with swearing and bad language, you should play music that the presenters basically can relate to as well, because it's their room, and you really want the presenter in top notch by the time they go on stage, because that's going to give a good outcome for everybody. You want a couple of Kayani banners if you don't have them. Go down to Officeworks. The files are sitting in back of Facebook under files. They're called banners. I think there's 3 or 4 of them in there. Grab them. They're good enough PDF files to take to Officeworks. And Officeworks will charge you, I think it's $130, something like that. And they'll do a couple of 6-foot banners. And they won't take more than a couple of days. You need to have a PC remote. I don't suggest you go up and press the keys unless the remote's failing on you. Have a remote control for the PC to shift slides. And a product table either down the back or up the front, something. You would want to have some water. Try not to get ice water. Ice water will freeze and stiffen up your vocal cords, and you could tighten up in your speech or lose your voice, and you start having to clear your throat all the time, and that's really quite frustrating. And the upbeat music, of course. Next slide I got here says start on time. I know sometimes it's frustrating. You want your guests to come in the room, but it's the idea. Love the one you're with, as we say. The people that are there are the people that are there. They're the ones you're presenting to. And if people come in throughout, just make sure that somebody's controlling the door and doing that quietly. And then really, what I'm talking about here, we're running with the 4-speaker setup. You can run with 3 or 2. I wouldn't go lower than 2. We're doing 4 in Melbourne. I think Adelaide's doing something very similar. So what I have is I have the points within the slide deck here where you would exchange the presenters. If you want to run with 2, I will show you where those 2 presenters shift. I just did a tour with Mel Langley to Bendigo and Swan Hill, and we ran with the 2 presenter format, and it works just fine. So it's up to you. When you run with multiple presenter setups, the opportunity is obviously you will have strong presenters and you will have new presenters. I don't want to use the word, not good presenters, but they're just newer at it. The order in which you put your presenters up, there's several thoughts to put into that. You want to start with the newer presenters first and the stronger presenters last, or certainly in terms of energy. Why that is you don't want to start with a high energy presenter and then end on a low energy presenter. And what I mean by that, you can figure that out as you go along, and you will know what a high and low energy presenter is. So start with the not so high or newer or slightly more nervous presenter at the beginning, and then you finish up with the ones that can take it out and close it out very, very strongly. So the first speaker really sets up the evening. It is the hello, I'm such and such, a quick purpose statement about what we're going to do tonight, very, very briefly. Do the phones off, toilets out the back, that sort of thing. And then very personal intro. My name is such and such. Before Kayani, I was a cab driver. I decided to get going in March, and this month I qualified for Sapphire, and next month I'm picking up my new Mercedes. I'm excited, whatever. And you just want to leave the message like any other testimonial. If I can do it, you can do it. So something in like a catchphrase, like we have the one, I live Kayani, but you need to have your own. And then you really get started. And that's the point where you get into the slide deck. The purpose of the presentation, by the way, is to simplify the information for people. What they should have, every guest in the room that should be there. And by the way, can I just clarify that the presentation is not for us. The presentation isn't for existing distributors to come and get excited about it, to come and get educated. It's not a training. It is a presentation where we present information in a different format to what people might have received up until this point. And what they should have received up until this point is they should have had a look at something through the sales funnel, which could be the webinar, it could be something. Then they should at very least have had a 3-way call with somebody other than their sponsor as a follow-up. And there could have been some other things. Maybe you've had a face-to-face. And now they're sitting on the fence and they need to have what we call social validation. They need to enter into the room to realize that they're not a room full of people with 2 heads. These are normal people that have made a business decision and they're driving a business in a business fashion, but having a lot of fun doing it, changing a lot of life doing it, and working with a product that everybody's excited about. So that really is, that's how that's set up. But the purpose of the whole night is for people to make that decision, to realize that they can also do this business. So we've got to simplify the information as much as we can. So you're not there to sound clever, we're there to simplify. And also for them to know that they have support and they don't necessarily have to. A lot of people, they don't want to present information. So not only do we have a funnel that we can put people into, if they have prospects that want more information, they don't even have to present because we will do it for them. And this is where we keep coming back to the done for you, and that's really what it means. Okay, the first slide in the slide deck is the slide that says we have your back. And the first presenter really talk about what we're going to talk about tonight is the fact that we have business and a business opportunity where we have literally done it all for you. All you got to do is get to work. But before we get started, I just want to show a quick video. And then you just intro the video. It is Kirk Hansen's just press play introductory video. I think it's 2 minutes and 38 seconds, something like that. I think it's a brilliant info. Kirk Hansen speaks very well. Yes, I know he's American, but you know, you can't not like the guy when he goes on and says something. So then the video, it finishes. Then you go to the first slide, and the first slide is the one to start with. 703 million people are looking for a home-based business. Now this is where you've got to be really careful not to read the slide. You've got to think about what are the main points you want to draw out of this slide. It's not what it says on it. People will read that. They will read it faster than you can present it, so don't even try. They'll probably look at the top one and the bottom one, and what it talks about is people are looking for business. People are looking for using multiple channels, and they want to have fun doing it and want to do it from home. And here's where you can tell a story. Mel did it so well when we went on a tour. She told my story about, you know, I started a business in areas that I didn't necessarily have any idea about, and I did it from home in my board shorts with my laptop and my phone, and I'm having a ball doing it. You know, people want to have fun. They want to work from home. Talk about Australia. You know, what do Australian wants? Why is the barbecue so popular in Australia? Because we like being at home, and we want to work from home. We're not really keen on having to drive and do a million things. That's what this slide is all about. You need to make up your own story or testimonial about what this slide means to you. Spend 1 minute on the slide. That's it. Move to the next slide. What is a done for you model? And the next slide talks about done for you is created by perfected by a team of multi-million-dollar business owners. So what we're saying, this is the creation of a multitude of industries, whether it be online marketing, whether it be network marketing, and we have brought it all together. What it allows you to do is a person who is not technical to use technology that not only a few years ago was not available, but even when it's available now, most of us haven't got a clue how to use it. And what we've done, or what the team behind us, what our business partners in this business have done, they have made this information or this technology available for us to use. And that is irrespective of where you come from. This is where we make this business accessible for everybody. This is where people will realize that the business is something that can be run by everyone. Once again, this is where you're saying, I can do it, you can do it. I can do it, you can do it. It's one of those slides. Then you go to the next slide. So that's the one with the 3 rocks on it, the fundamentals of success. And really, there's not a lot to say about it, but what it's really now doing, it's setting up the rest of the presentation. Okay, for the rest of the evening, what we're going to talk about is the components or the fundamentals for success. Number one, you've got to have the massive demand. You talk about what a massive demand is. It's a big product. You don't have to talk about health. You can talk about any product. You want to illustrate that companies that have been successful have had massive demands. Companies that have been successful, they are one-of-a-kind products. They have unique products. They have products that people want. They're also duplicatable. I mean, you could even use McDonald's. You go, hang on, it's not necessarily a very good product, but it's a one-of-a-kind product. It's fast. It comes in through your car window, whatever, and is duplicatable. And duplicatable really means that other people can take it up and run with it, so you can build massive teams, which is point 4. And you really talk about the teams and partners. And then number 5, you talk a little bit about what really gives people success, the ability to build something bigger than what they really need personally. And that is the introduction to the rest of the presentation. That really is the job of the first speaker. This is where we have a natural break. We've found out that seems like a good spot. Now you introduce the next speaker. And the off-going speakers, okay, that's enough for me. And now is a great pleasure for me to introduce the next speaker. Here's the very, very important things. When you introduce the next speaker, you must edify the next speaker. What's edification? You say something about them that you admire about this person, like about them, and don't write it down. Look, if I'm introducing Mark Harper, which is what's on my slide in front of me right now, if I need to sit and read about Mark to edify him to the crowd, I shouldn't be edifying him. I should be sitting having a coffee with Mark till I know enough about him to sincerely talk about what I like about this guy. So I just edify the guy, whatever I feel like talking about, but don't make it a long, dribbly mess. It's just a quick 10, 15 seconds. I then introduce Mark up. Please help me welcome to the front of the room, Mark Harper. You start clapping yourself because you want the room to follow. Mark comes up, shakes your hand because this is a handover process. The first person has just built a little bit of credibility to the room. The idea of edification is, and I'm now handing my credibility, I'm handing you guys, the room, over to the next presenter, and I respect him. Mark comes up, we shake hand, the first presenter goes and sits down, and now the second presenter does something that's really important. He hands back that credibility, so he continues by saying, "Thank you very much, John. One of the things I really, I just want to give John a hand. I just want to acknowledge John. I just want whatever you want to do." And then you say something very similar. "I worked with John for the last 6 months. He's a top-notch guy. He's always on the mark. He's always willing to help with the team when we ask, and he's just an all-round team player. So can we just give John another round of applause?" And then you applaud the off-going. Now we have got that synergy in the room between two presenters, and the room is totally comfortable with the handover. There's no longer a stranger that just came up. Remember, we're introducing 4 speakers. If that was 4 strangers, all of a sudden the energy goes up, down, if you don't do this. This is really, really, really important. Learn to do this and learn to do it well. One of the things, I've worked with Bruce Doyle in the team. I worked with him for 10 years. One of the things we were exceptional at, it was whenever we did presentations, was the edification process and handing back and forth to each other. And the room was always in perfect balance with where that was at. So I'm spending a lot of time on this point. Why? It's such a little thing, but it makes such a huge difference, and you just need to do it well. The next slide just says, massive demand is health. What you want to talk about there is what you want to talk about. What we really talk about, and what it says on the bottom of the slide in the slides notes is, according to the World Health Organization, 80% of the people in industrialized countries, they die of heart attacks, and before they really should. We are sick nation. We are undernourished because the nutrition is this. Health is such a big thing at the moment, and more people are getting into health, whether it be for trend or whether it because grey people like me in their 50s are getting a little bit worried about what might be happening on the inside, and we're getting a little bit scared. So health is becoming a high priority. One of the things, I listened to Jim Rohn last night, and he talked, the person that had a heart attack, if they survive that heart attack, the chances are they'll live for a very, very long age. Reason being is all of a sudden health becomes very important, and it just sits front of mind all of a sudden, and I do everything right. We are in an age group right now with the baby boomers and Gen X. They are just getting paranoid about getting old or potentially dying, or even worse, not being in full health or being able to do something. Very quick, 45 seconds on this slide, because the next bit is the presentation, the video. It is the second video from the Just Push Play, which you can download from Vimeo. You can actually, I think if you Google Kayani Vimeo videos or Just Push Play, you will see the website in Vimeo, and they are downloadable. You don't need a fancy tool or plug-in to be able to do that. It's just there's a button that says download. So these are the two you need to download, insert into your slide deck. That plays for, from memory, 6 minutes, something like that. That is one of the most exceptional product videos I've seen in a long time. If you don't, I get semi-goosebumps and a little bit almost emotional. Maybe it's because I'm proud of what we're doing. But you play, and when I play it, you will notice that the sound on this video is actually a little bit louder than the Kirk Hansen video, because the music is a strong emotional driver, and it'll help you move that forward. Now you come back. So once you presented that, you come back, and then you start very briefly talking about the products. You don't have to do a lot of work right now. There's about 4 or 5 slides on the products that you can move through very quickly, because there's no chance that any of us can do as good a job on explaining the products and how they work than the slides. So what you want to do on the next one, which is a triangle, and it talks about wellness simplified, unique product combination. You just talk about the simplicity. We've got 3 products. You don't have to worry, does this mix with that? Does this do, you've got 3 simple products. Some of them, in Australia, they come in a little satchel, which you can just chuck in your back pocket on your women in the handbag, or we can stick it in our jacket pocket, and you can literally take it with you. Talk about the simplicity. Then you pump on to the next slide, which is about Sunrise. It's got all the product. You talk about the 17 superfoods. It's like juicing in a pouch. How many people have heard of juicing? How many people are into juicing? And everybody's into something. And it's a water-soluble food nutrition, which really means that it's very, very quickly absorbed into your bloodstream. And it's the basis for all our products, the blueberry. And the next slide is really, it shows the juicer. And then it shows a little 1-ounce pack. And the exciting thing is you look at all the servings right next to it. So you've got to have 80 cups of broccoli to have the same nutritional value as in 1-ounce pack of sunrise. Now, how much juicing would you have to do? And even if you did do the juicing, the fruits and the vegetables that you, even if they're organic, that you pop into your juicer, they're coming out of ground. They're nutrient deficient. So there's no way you could actually keep up. And that's why the impact of these products is so huge. That's really all you want to talk about there. But people need to see the numbers. 80, how many avocados? I don't know. A hideous amount of money. You need to eat 8 ounces of fish and how many sardines? 80 ounces of sardines. Good luck with that. That you couldn't possibly eat your way through to this sort of nutrition. And that's really what you want to talk about. Make it a little bit of fun. Nitro Extreme. I talk about the exciting things that Nitro Extreme does and what it's done for people. The Nitro Extreme is really that's the athletes. If you're really working out, if you're pushing, that's where you go. And of course, Nitro FX is the flagship. And if you dare, have a little bit of fun with the sexual health thing. It gets a giggle every time. I think in Bendigo the other night, Mel goes, and it improves sexual health, and I couldn't help myself on the back. And did you say sexual health? And you go, yes, I say sexual. And and you have some fun with it, because it is a little bit of fun. It is serious business, but it's a bit of fun. And then you go back to the credibility slide. It's already been mentioned. That's in Nitro FX and Extreme, and the 3 gentlemen and their Nobel Prize in I can't remember what it is. It's in medicine. You really talk about that this product is not something we just came up with in the 23rd and a half hour thinking it's a good idea. It is researched. It is documented by doctors. It has been awarded. The research has been awarded and recognized. And now we have a product that will fulfill that. And the last one is Sunset. And all you really talk about is, what that's all about. Sunset is really the good night tablet. You have it before your dinner. It's what's going to help you rest. It's one that's going to help you recover. It's how you repair yourself from injury, because right throughout the day you're really all about injury. And then you might want to cover that, Sunset is on its way. We're just in a pre-launch, and you just very briefly cover that, in the next month or two. This product should be available, and it's manufactured in Australia. And then you go on to saving lives, testimonials. This is a very important part of the evening. I suggest you just have one testimonial. You could do more if you have 2 really good ones. We had 2 really strong testimonials out of Bendigo and out of Swan Hill. And the important part is the person that has a testimonial, if they're feeling emotional about the testimonial, even better. If you can draw some emotion out of the room, fantastic, go for it. And you got to be excited about this testimonial before you bring the person up and says, I see testimonial every day that I didn't even know existed. We got one from a guy in Bendigo on Tuesday, Cam. I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning his name. But he used to have varicose veins from his knees down so badly that his wife says, we're no longer going to take summer holidays because you can't wear shorts. It's got to be winter holidays when we have to wear ski gear. And he didn't do it on the night, but when everybody left, he said, my varicose veins have disappeared. And after the event, I'm going, show me. And he pulls his pants up over under the knee. And literally, he's got a normal leg with a little bit of that's exciting. That's what this business is all about. So get the testimonial up. At this point, you could change speaker if you want to. It's probably it could be a good point to do it right there. It's an emotional point to do it, actually. The room will be very emotional if you do it there. And, why not? If you feel like it, go for it. Next slide is the duplicatable system. So it's got the 5% and the 95%. All you need to talk about there is what that means. Well, what that means is 95% of the population, they don't have duplication in life. They have linear lives. So they go to work for an hour, they get paid for an hour. Then they go, they do the 40-year plan, 40 hours a week, gold watch at the end, maybe. But only 5% have worked out duplication. 5% of the people like John Paul Getty that said, I'll rather have 1% of the effort of 100 men than 100% of my own efforts. And that's what I say to people. Wouldn't it make more sense to take a tiny percentage out of what we all achieve as a team? And this is a really important factor to bring in and ask them the question, well, doesn't it make sense to earn a little bit of what we all achieve as a team than trying to do it all ourselves or individually? And they go, yeah, absolutely. Well, this is what this business is all about. And the way we do it, which is the next slide, is the one that's got copy-paste, send on it, and share. This business is simple. It's about sharing information. And it's a system that in the last 12 months has created over $5 million in brand new business just by copy, paste, send. And let's face it, the new generations, that are here in their early 20s, that's all they do. And that's what you'd want to talk about in this slide. This is simple. Remember, people are thinking, can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? Can you copy? Can you paste? Can you send something? And that's how we share information. And we naturally share anyway. You go and see a movie, you share. You go and have a good restaurant experience, you share. Here we have the information for you to share, whether it be product-based, and that really takes you into the next slide as you add it. It shows the products on the left-hand side. Share the product by giving away samples, or share the business opportunity by copy, paste, send, and then you've got the Team Fusion logo. Here's the thing you want to say about this slide. It says pre-qualified people who want to talk to you first. And that's where you look the group in the eye and says, imagine a business where you don't have to talk to anyone unless they want to talk to you first. What if you can filter out all the people that have no level of interest in what you're doing, and you're left talking to the people that you should have selected in the first place? That is your message on this slide. How much meat you put on that is up to you. But, keep the slide fairly short. Next slide is real people, real results. This is where we bring up a business testimonial. The business testimonial needs to be a couple of minutes, just like the product testimonial. But what you really want to say, hi, and the point behind the business testimonial needs to be that people see a person, a guy or girl in front of the room, and they're thinking, I'm just like them. If they can do it, I can do it. That's the message you want to get across, because that's really what this business is all about with everything we have. So they need to come in the front of the room, say, my name is such and such. Before I started Kayani, I was doing this. I started doing Kayani in March, in February, whatever. I was a little bit scared. I was a little bit nervous because I've never done anything like this before. Blah, blah, blah. Within a couple of months, I've achieved this. I learned to do this. Now I'm a XYZ in the business. I've replaced half my income on my work, and I'm on my way to get a new Mercedes. One of the things I'm most excited about is I knew nothing about doing any kind of this, but with the this and the that and the that. And that pretty well, with a little bit more meat on it, that should be the testimonial. And then you move forward to the next section, which is talking about your team and the business partners. It's a picture with the three founders of it, with Mr. Kirk Hansen in the middle. And it talks about International Nutraceutical Company, founded in 2005, blah, blah, blah. That slides. What you want to talk about there is what has impressed you the most about the owners of this business. And it's the credibility of the company. So imagine a business where you've got ground floor opportunity, but with a company that is not a startup. That's one of the powerful points about this slide. The second powerful point about this slide is the business owners the partners, the company we partner up with, have never sold a company and they've never failed in business. Imagine having that backing, and they treat us as their business partners. And they're generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue right now. You jump straight onto the next slide, which is your team and business partners. The opportunity is to own a truly global business. And you don't need to read the points about the slide, but to say this is ground level. We're in 53 countries. They pretty well spent all the money they had to open the Western world, India and China and Asia. And the world is our oyster. We are not only ground floor, we're still in the basement. We haven't even dug our way out of the ground. So we are so fresh in Australia. And you can talk about us as a group that we're now in 13 countries that most of us have never been to. So this is a massive opportunity. That's the point of that slide. Next slide is the slide with the KV and the potato pack. And I speak about that. I don't talk about so much what it is other than why I'm passionate about it. KV is a loyalty program whereby people, it's like superannuation within a network marketing company. Imagine over the next 10 years the amount of Kayani Care volume that you can generate, and you can have it paid out when you're 60 years of age on top of what you're already earning. That could turn out to be hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time we reach 60. I don't know any other network marketing company that does that, on top of which every single year, whatever is in your account, they will add 10% to it. So they actually have compounding interest, that goes into your account like Kayani Care. Talk about that. And then talk about the potato pack. I speak about this passionately. Why? Because my personal belief, and your belief might be sounding different when you express it, is that we need to help others. We need to help others because it's just not enough to say, I need to line my own pockets. I think that's selfish. And I quite openly say that off the front of the stage. One of my philosophies is never split a room in terms of having an opinion, like talking about politics, religions, or sex, or tell a joke. It's very dangerous if you split the room. But on this one here, I personally dare do it. How far you take it, I don't know, but I don't think anyone that would sit in the room and says, you shouldn't help anyone else, so I might as well be passionate about it, and so should you. Next slide is where we present, where we get the next speaker. This would be Rod, for example, and we do the edification process again. Straight into the next slide, which is creating income about retail profits. So this is really the segment where we talk about the money. The first thing we talk about is selling or retailing product, and you earn 20 to 30% on retailing product. You can both retail through your own store, you can retail through somebody else's store, where we can sell the product retail. Very quick slide. Second slide, everyone's here to generate leveraged income, or how to create the duplication factor. And then you really go through the slides, jade, pearl, and sapphire, and you just talk about very briefly, when you first get involved, your number one goal is to become a jade. Average jade income is 300 and whatever it is, I got US dollars here, 253 US dollars. Fast start bonus, if you do that inside the next 30 days, is 600 bucks US, and they pay that over 90 days as you continue to qualify. That's jade. Go to pearl, explain it very briefly. Pearl, once you've figured out how to do jade, and you've introduced your first three business partners, our responsibility is to help your three business partners do exactly the same. Now they're beginning to get the feel for the duplication. Okay, move on to sapphire, is exactly the same. Help another couple of people get to pearl so they can get their $1,000 a month and find one other business partner. And now I really stop and pause on sapphire and how important that is, that really at nearly $2,800 Australian per month, it is a significant addition to somebody's income. In fact, with a car in the garage, a Mercedes, after your second qualification month, there's something significant happening in anyone's lives. The two biggest investments any family has ever made is likely to be their house and their car. All of a sudden, you got that paid for. Well, most people should have, at $2,800, that's a significant mortgage. But, they might not. But it'll certainly be contributing. And you have a free car in the garage, and car you would never have bought had we given you the money. So it's a guilt-free prestige car that you would have probably gone bought a Toyota something and then bank the difference because you feel guilty going to spoil yourself. So we spoil you, and you don't have to lose sleep over it. And then I very briefly go to the next slide, ruby, emerald, and diamond. It is just to give there's some people in the room that will have higher expectation as to, if they thought, is all you can ever make is that's $3,000. If they're the higher income earners of life, give them something to look at. And these are the next three slides. And the way I explain it, in the next three levels, there's a rank bonus in there as well. So emerald will probably be the first month where you not only crack 10 grand Australian, but probably closer to about 15 for that month, maybe even 20 if you ever had a good one. So for most people, that would be huge. And then you go on to diamond. I explained diamond. This is the first, it's like getting black belt in martial arts. It's the first black belt. It's the first Dan. There's another 7 Dans to go. So this is really the senior ranks where you start moving up, and the car program goes up with you. That's all you need to talk about that. Next slide is the little one with the post-it notes in it that said, that's impossible, I can do it, just give up, that sort of thing. And here's the number one thing I say about this slide, because what this slide is really all about is, can I do it? And what I say to people is, a lot of people ask themselves, can I do it? And a lot of people say no. And here's why. In most traditional network marketing, they say no because they don't really say no to the program. They don't say no to the comp plan. They don't say no to the products. They don't say no to you. They say no to what they think they need to do is they say yes. And here's the significance between us and the rest. And that is our process. That's our system. And that's why you can do it in our system, because you don't have to sit there and cold call on the phone. You don't have to present. You don't have to take rejection face to face, 10 times a day to make this business work. All you got to do is copy, paste, send. And then you go to the next slide, which is the funnels. The funnels to success. You can see all the pictures. There's a picture of Scott. There's some cars. There's Kirk Hansen. There's the login here. There's a video. We send people through a process to have the pre-qualified prospects coming out the other end. In fact, we don't even need computers anymore. Bang, you jump to the next slide. It talks about the Social 3.0 in an app. And there's 1, 2, 3 slides, 3 slides for that. And those 3 slides really just talk about the different applications there is in the app. And so this is your $1 million mobile phone. This is your back pocket ATM. And people giggle. Pull your phone out of your pocket. Make sure it's queued up with Kayani, with Team Fusion on it, and show them a little bit. If you can get the video to play, who's ever heard of this? And they play the Scott Bulch webinar. And then you move on to the next slide straight off that, which is all the cars. I said, guys, these cars are real. This program is real. This is happening. Everything you see there is paid for by Kayani in the compensation program. It's not just Sapphire. There's different levels of cars. That's enough for the next speaker. You go into the last speaker. And this is where you want somebody that can finish on a reasonably high energy and close it out logically. You want to close out with a decision, and I'll go through how I would do it and how I normally do it. The next slide is really the pack. Getting started, for those of you who want to get started with us, here's what you're considering. $40.99, $8.99. I explain why. $40.99, if you can facilitate it, this is for the series, you get more samples, more this, more that. And these are the guys that really want to hit it and hit the ground running and hit it hard. If you are not in a financial situation when you can, $8.99 should do it for you. By the way, if you're considering being a customer, you don't have to take any of these options. This is just for people that want to build a business. If you want to be a customer, you can start with a $50 pack, or you can take the triangle pack. It's entirely up to you. No requirements of anything. But this is for the builders. Next slide. You're either all in. You are ready to go. You want me to shut up, get off, so you can register, get started, and get into it. Congratulations, welcome to the team. For some of you, you might have a few questions. What we're going to do, and this is what you explain, we're going to finish up, and then we're all going to run around. Come and say hello to us, and introduce your guests to us. Have your questions answered, because we only have one goal for you, and the goal is for you to be able to make a decision either way. If you want to say, if you get all information, that's enough for you to say no, pick no, but just be sure that when you go home that you're totally comfortable with no. We don't want you to lose sleep over it. You need to decide very strongly that's a no. If you're still wanting to ask, why should I join this opportunity? You haven't asked enough questions, so you need to do that. On the other hand, if you say yes, you need to be fully engaged in the yes as well. It's a confident yes. It's a I'm all in yes. It's I'm going to jump in. Of course, you're going to feel a little bit nervous, same as any decision you make in life. Whether it be buying your first car, buying your new house, getting married, having kids, you'll always be nervous. They're great decisions, but they make you nervous. That's normal. But if you say, yes, I want you fully engaged, not, yes, I'm going to give it a try, yes, I'm going to stick my toes in, that is a recipe for disaster. So let's not do that. I just want to help you make a decision. And the last one of you don't want to do the business, but you're happy to donate with us or be a customer. The person that brought you here today would love to have you as a customer, and they would love to have your testimonial as a customer and see some changes in your family's lives from a health perspective. Next slide is really about life-changing events. Guys, you will be able to tap into everything. We do live events here. We do just describe the events that are going on and why that's good and why that's good for business. We are here to support you any way possible. We're here to set you up for success. And that's really what the events are all about, whether it be the phone call, whether it be what I'm doing now, whether it be a Vegas event or Japan, Osaka, it doesn't matter. We are setting things up to help you grow your business. And then you really finish up on the very last slide. It's called Getting Started. And you should finish the entire evening with this slide sitting on the slide projector. So that's the last impression you leave them with. Okay, for you guys that are considering getting started, the all-ins, first thing you need to do is you need to enroll a distributor, sit down with the people aboard here. If you've got questions, we'll come and help you. Number 2, download the mobile phone app, so you have the app in your phone. Number 3, book into the closest regional/event, so there might be next Wednesday, it might be Monday, it might be Thursday night launch, something. Number 4, meet with your sponsor within 24 hours. We need to set up your launch. If your sponsor's brand spanking new, they would bring along their upline executive to help them launch you, to ensure that you get the best possible start. Guys, business is about taking action. Life is about taking action. Life is not about thinking about it, worrying about it, whatever. If this is going to excite you, take action and take action now. Thank you for coming. Enjoyed working with you. Have a great night and see you next week. Bang, music, and then you're into it. And that really is how you want to be wrapping that up very, very quickly. You don't want to leave it to questions. You don't want to have people starting talking. You want somebody that can start up the music really, really quickly with high energy and loud enough, just in case you got somebody in the room that shouldn't have been there. You want the music to be loud enough just to drown out the fact that they might have an urge to ask a really silly question. That's really what you're there to do. So that's enough for me. I'm going to actually stop the recording here if you don't mind. Hang on a sec. Bear with me.